Go ahead.
بسم الله. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. Welcome to another enlightening episode of Al-Muminat Podcast. This is a space where we as believers come together to reflect on the wisdom of the Quran, share insights, and strengthen our connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whether you're joining us for the first time or a regular listener, I pray that the session enriches your heart, mind, and soul. Today, we will begin with Surah Al-Baqarah, Ayah 240, and our speaker for today's session is Sister Shahid. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us understanding and allow these reflections to guide us towards better understanding ourselves and our communities. Let us start with the remembrance of Allah and delve into His words. Jazakallahkheir for joining us. We now begin.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We're starting again, inshallah, with Surat Al-Baqarah, continuing with Ayah 240. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. Ya Allah, uplift my heart for me and make my task easy and untie the knot from my tongue so that they may understand my speech. Before we start, inshallah, again, just a reminder of the beauty of Surat Al-Baqarah and the barakah that it has. The Prophet ﷺ says, اقرأوا سورة البقرة فإن أخذها بركة وتركها حسرة ولا تستطيعها البطلة. Recite Surat Al-Baqarah, for using it produces blessing and abandoning it produces regret, and the slothful are unable to recite it. So if you are in need of any kind of barakah in your life or any kind of blessings to come into your life, definitely Surat Al-Baqarah should be your best friend in any way possible. Just by joining us, and inshallah, like some barakah will enter your life. We're starting with Ayah 240. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَالَّذِينَ يُتَوَفَّوْنَ مِنكُمْ وَيَذَرُونَ أَزْوَاجًا وَصِيَّةً لِأَزْوَاجِهِمْ مَتَاعًا إِلَى الْحَوْلِ غَيْرَ إِخْرَاجٍ فإن خرجن فلا جناح عليكم فيما فعلن في أنفسهن من معروف والله عزيز حكيم.
As to those among you who die and leave wives behind, let there be a testament for their wives, bequeathing provision for a year without expulsion from the husband's residence. But if they depart of their own accord, then there is no blame on you, who are his heirs, as to what they choose to do with themselves in accordance with what is right. And God is overpowering, all wise.
So, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this ayah, He's talking about a legislation or a rule that was later changed in the ayahs that are going to be spoken about later. And this ruling is about wives whose husbands passed away. So, before the last or the final legislation of iddah and inheritance was revealed, Islam was supposed to or it was is trying to protect widows from any kind of hardship, from neglect, from practices that were very harsh towards them. In the past, when a husband would pass away, his wife would not get any money. She would usually have to marry whoever the other people decide she needs to marry. So basically, most of her rights were taken from her. So when Islam came, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protected these widows, and this was the first rule, which was the person who had passed away had to leave some sort of will behind them, or after they leave. And the thing is, this changed later on. So I'm just going to explain this ruling, but just know that this wasn't the final ruling. It was changed. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sometimes does in the Quran, He will give you a ruling, and then sometimes later on, as the time goes on, at the time of the Prophet, the ruling is changed. So when a man died, died back in the Prophet's days, when this verse was revealed, his wife was entitled to residence in his home. She was entitled to any kind of financial provision that he would have left behind. And the duration of this right would be 1 full year after he passed away. And she could not be forced out of that house by his heirs or his family. So no matter who would ask her to leave, she won't leave. And she was able to just basically for a full year after her husband passes away, she's able to grieve him, take any money that she needs for to live and survive. And this would come from whatever estates he left behind or whatever money he left behind. And this was basically the wasiyah that had to provide her with this. And as I said, the reason for this is because the widows didn't have this before. They would have no wealth, they would have no inheritance, there was no protection for them. So this was kind of like a safety net that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provided them with. However, this ruling was later changed, and we'll talk about that in Ayah 243. However, if they leave, so it's clear that there's like a 1-year maintenance, and this was the early ruling of this. However, if the widow chooses to leave, so if she doesn't want to stay in that house, she is not required to. She has the freedom to leave before the year ends, and that includes if she wants to remarry or if she just wants to leave for personal reasons. So if she chooses to leave, they can't, like, she's not being sinful. So that year is supposed to help her. It's not supposed to be used against her. So if someone's husband passes away and she decides that she doesn't want to remain in his residence, she wants to, after like the iddah, obviously, she wants to leave to like her parents' house, or she wants to go to her brother's house, or like any of her maharim that she has, she's allowed to do that. Or if she wants to remarry, she's allowed to do that. No one can force her to do that. And this was the first ruling that was there. And then there obviously it was unanimous that this ruling has changed or was changed with the iddah. If a person or if a man passes away, his wife is supposed to do iddah, which is 4 months and 10 days. And then she gets a part of inheritance, which is like a fixed share from his from whatever he leaves behind. And this was basically the ruling that preceded it. And there are like many rulings about what is like considered the iddah and what are like the exact things that she needs to do, but we'll talk about that inshallah in the later ayah. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in ayah 241, وَلِلْمُطَلَّقَاتِ مَتَاعٌ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ حَقًّا عَلَى الْمُتَّقِينَ.
And let there also be reasonable provision for divorced women in accordance with what is right, as an obligation upon the God-fearing.
So just as a reminder, whatever tafsir I do bring in, this is not my tafsir. I'm not a mufassira. This is from Ibn Kathir, Qurtubi. Anybody who wants to go back to the sources, you can go back at any time. But yeah, just as a reference. So over here in this ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about the concept of giving a gift or a consolatory gift to a woman who gets divorced. And this is not from the mahr. So a woman, when she gets divorced, she gets her mahr if there is a full marriage, and if they only like did kitab and there wasn't a full marriage, then she would get half of the mahr. However, here, this is not what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about. He's talking about a consolatory gift, and this is when a woman is divorced without a fault. So when she hadn't done anything wrong, she didn't harm her husband or do anything that would cause her to get divorced, but he divorces her anyway. And then that consolatory gift is dependent on the husband's financial ability. So whatever he, like for example, if he is a very rich or wealthy person, he's supposed to give her a very hefty consolatory gift. If he is somebody who is of not great means, then he could give her a smaller gift, but she's supposed to get a consolatory gift because it is not her fault that he divorced her. And this is according to urf, or custom at the time. So this is it's a way of kind of easing emotional harm that could be caused by divorce. It's a way to preserve the woman's dignity, and it is to prevent any resentment or injustice that might happen. Obviously, in Islam, it's like you're not supposed to divorce somebody for no reason at all. But this is like it's a special circumstance where someone has to get divorced from someone. But there is nothing wrong with, like, she wasn't at fault of this divorce. However, they had to get a divorce, and so this would be a gift. However, the injustice is still not okay in Islam. So if it was an injustice that had befallen this woman, that is not okay. So just to make that clear. This is also like among the scholars, they talked about whether this ruling was obligatory or recommended, and many of the scholars saw this as an obligation, so a man has to do that, and others considered it very strongly recommended. But most believe that it is obligatory because of the way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala worded it in this ayah. And so some people believe that this is not only for women who are not at fault of divorce, this is for any woman who gets divorced. And it is an obligation for the man to give that to the woman. It is kind of like compensation for her time, energy, anything that kind of she had to put into that marriage. And some people said that that is only if the mahr was not specified. Some people said that it was only when divorce happens before consummation. So if, as I said, like there was kitab and then nothing happened, like there was like no official, like complete marriage, they didn't consummate the marriage, then she would also be entitled to this consolatory gift that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provided her with. However, apparently some of the scholars believe that this is for every divorced woman, whether she, regardless of the reason of the divorce, she is entitled to that. And this is a duty upon the righteous, which is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said. And the reason Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says this is because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala attached this ruling to taqwa, showing that this legal responsibility that men have towards their divorced women, it has to do with moral excellence, you know, and it has to do with them feeling kind of responsible. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says حَقًّا عَلَى الْمُتَّقِينَ, as like this is a right for the women from people who have taqwa and people who actually fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So taqwa is fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So a man who truly fears Allah and he feels like maybe he divorced his woman unjustly, or she might be hurt by the divorce, even if like they both agreed to it or whatever it was the situation, he feels like she might be really hurt by it, then he will feel morally obligated to this consolatory gift.
So Shahid, there's a question.
Yes.
So question, if he's doing the divorce,
Yes.
the mahar goes, all the mahar goes back and the matahar, or is it half goes back?
Oh, that's if there wasn't consummation, half of it goes back.
Okay,
So,
but if there was consummation, then none of it goes
yes.
back.
No, none of it goes back.
Okay, and then if she asked for the divorce, that's the second question. If she asked for the divorce, does she have to give the mahar back and the matahar?
I believe this is more fiqh, and I'm not like great with fiqh, so I don't want to like
Right.
make a ruling. But from what I know, if there was like an actual reason for the divorce, rulings apply differently. So,
Okay.
for example, if he was like cheap, he wasn't like treating her well, he was like not a great husband, and vice versa, obviously, then there would be like a difference. But what I believe is, in Islam, I do know that whoever asks for it, it's like different in terms of what comes back. Um, Let me see, because I know there's an ayah for this. Yeah, so it does depend on basically if there was a reason. So if she's just asking for divorce for no reason, or no kind of harm that happened to her, then he could ask for the mahr back.
Okay. And
However,
go ahead.
I don't believe that's very common. Like as urf, like as tradition, people don't usually, unless it was before like the consummation. Like after the consummation, it seems like people just, because usually there's kids involved, so there's like a lot of nafaqa issues, like the man has to provide for his children as well, so like it gets a little complicated. But yeah, if there was no reason for the divorce, the the man can ask for the mahr back.
Okay. So the third question is, can the woman ask for a divorce with no reason whatsoever?
Yes, everybody can ask for divorce for no reason.
Even if, let's say, for example, because this was brought up, and let's say the guy wants marry a second wife, and you're not okay with that,
Yeah.
but that's his haq.
Yeah.
Could you just say, I want a divorce no matter what?
Yeah.
Okay.
She can say that. Anybody can ask for a divorce. That's like no one
Is
needs
there
to
a hadith that states that, or where they can look it up and saying that they can ask for a divorce for no reason whatsoever? It just because, even if it's just because the husband wanted a second wife and she did not want that, she has. I thought that she has the right for no reason whatsoever, but there was something said that she cannot ask, if he's being just to her and being just to the new wife, she cannot ask for a divorce. So that's why there was a.
she can ask for it, because in Islam you're allowed to ask for a divorce at any time. It's the thing is
Because
you
they said
have to
that for
give
a
them
man you could anytime
you
for no reason, but not a woman.
no, man, woman too.
Okay.
Anybody can ask for divorce. It goes both ways. But the thing is, men have what we know in Arabic as isma, which means that they are able to just say a word and divorce happens.
Right.
If a woman wants to ask for a divorce, it's more of a process.
Okay.
So that's why she usually needs to provide like reasons,
But,
and that's why Allah
let's
subhanahu
say
wa
the
ta'ala,
reason was because he wanted a second wife.
it depends also on what they agreed to before marriage too. Like this is why people usually have to take time thinking about the aqd, or the contract of marriage, because you can add certain things to the aqd where you're just like, if in the because she can't be like, oh, you're not allowed to marry a second wife,
Well, because
because
nowadays in this day and age, like they're ignorant to what they can. Before they were ignorant to ask. Now they can know what to ask for, but back then they
yeah,
were ignorant to know what to ask. They're not knowledgeable about what they could ask and what they can't ask. Let's say they're thinking they're going to be the only wife forever. They're not thinking of the him wanting to have the second wife. She still could ask for her divorce, can't she, or
yeah.
no?
I think the
Or would that be
so
something that they'd have to go
first
ask
of
the
all, the
sheikh?
thing is, marriage from a second wife causes lots of damage to the first wife in this day and age, because we're very like back in the day it was more common, and it was more acceptable to a woman for that to happen. However, now it could harm you emotionally, mentally a lot. So in Islam, if something is harmful, so if the marriage is now causing you harm, that is enough reason.
That's what I thought.
So like even if it's like he didn't do anything, like he's like being just, everything's fine, whatever, you could still be like,
But
it's
emotionally you're hurt and
yes,
yeah.
mentally, like it's killing you, whatever, like that's still a valid reason.
Okay.
So if it's causing her like any kind of pain, like mentally, physically, whatever it is that it's causing her, she can be like, this is enough reason for me
Even
to not continue.
sadness, correct?
Even if she didn't mention it in the aqd, like even if she did.
Even if it's sadness, like it's causing her sadness.
Sadness is too small of an emotion, and I really doubt that if a man like marries another, it's just sadness that happens to the first wife. It's usually much more than sadness. It's like depression. It's like even physical illness. Like it does feel like a little bit of a betrayal because of how relationships are viewed nowadays. We're very monogamous now. We don't. It's very common for you to see just one man with one woman. It's very uncommon for multiple.
But in
women to
certain
be there.
countries, it's not still. In certain
Yeah,
countries,
that's the
it's still
thing.
not.
It depends on, like, maybe in, for example, I don't know. I'm just gonna mention a random country. This is not like, I don't know. It's just because I want to put it like in two different countries. Like, for example, in Egypt, it's normal for a man to marry like 3 women. That's not the case. I'm just saying. And so when he tells his first wife that he's going to get married to another one, she might be a little sad, but it wouldn't hurt her that much because she's used to seeing that. However, for example, if in Sudan, they're only used to having just one wife, then if he were to tell his first wife that he wants to marry a second, she would take the news very, very differently than in Egypt. And that is enough of a reason for you to be like, I don't want to continue. Okay, even if he didn't cause her any, like, he didn't harm her physically, he didn't do any, like, how he's supposed to be just between the both, maybe he did the same for both wives, but still she just couldn't take it, then that's enough for her to say that.
So this is so controversial, like not controversial, but I'm saying like, so like, because there's a fourth question now. Does he has to ask permission from the first wife?
No.
Okay.
I know, as much as we want that, but no.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
then
I know.
so like I know there are a lot of sheikhs say that secret marriages are harmful also. They shouldn't have it secret, like on the down low.
Of course,
Yeah.
he's supposed, because part of marriage is announcing it. Like, you're supposed to do the ishhad, which is letting everybody know that you're married. However, if she mentioned in the contract that he's not allowed to marry another, and that if he does, then the contract is no more, then he has to tell her, because that's part of the contract.
Yeah, and I know that, like in the contract, you now they're allowing you to put that in the contract that you want.
No, it's been allowed. Even the Prophet ﷺ did that for Fatima.
Oh, no way.
So like for Fatima, Ali was not allowed to marry another.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
you can do that. It's
yeah, I mean, it's still it's not haram because Allah made it permissible for the man. But if he did that, then he's invalidating the contract basically. So she gets all her mahar back
in the contract,
and like she keeps her mahar and she gets the rights for the divorce. So the other thing is, they're saying because if he doesn't ask for permission, isn't that kind of like not kindness and hurting? Like that's Islam is like for kindness and not hurting anybody. So why is that not the man can't ask permission, from the wife?
Islam is not, I think that's like one of the things that we need to kind of change the perception of. It's not just like a religion of kindness and peace and like, so everything has to happen the way that we think it's supposed to happen. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sees things differently.
Yes.
Like different than we see it. So what you think is kind maybe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't think it's kind, you know? And it
Yeah.
happens many times where we're just like, oh, this is great for me, and it's actually the worst thing for you. So he knows that this works.
Right.
He knows that this is the way it is. He knows that giving the talaq, the ability to do divorce to the man, is the way to go.
I know.
know?
And then that's what it is. Like, it's as far as like the West, we're so robotically, controlled by the West, thinking that, they try to show the woman to be so dominant, playing the man's role,
Yeah.
and that they
The
have
thing
to
is,
have the
both
say.
both have like a lot. The thing is, when a man has this right, like he has the right to ask for divorce at any time. He could just say, "Inti taliq," and that's it. And it's that is considered a divorce. He just has to say one word. But the thing is, in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he has way more responsibility
Yeah.
than the woman, which
Yeah.
is scary. Like,
Yeah.
they always say you'd rather be the person who injustice was done to than you being the one who was unjust, because it is scary to do any kind of injustice towards a human being, because that is
Right.
one thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forbade himself from doing. So when humans do it to each other, the consequences are very, very high. And like that's why at the time of the caliphs, like when there were caliphs,
Yeah.
most of them didn't want to become leaders. They hated the idea of it, because you have a lot of power, just like in this case, like a man has the power, but then also you're asked about that on the
Yeah.
day of judgment. Like,
Yeah.
were you kind to what they tell you? Like, one of the most important people or witnesses on the day of judgment is your wife. If you were a bad husband, oh my goodness, and if you divorced your wife for no reason and you harmed her and you hurt her, that's also like a very, like, it's a disaster for you on the day of judgment. So we think of it in this dunya like, that's so unfair, like why would Allah give him so much power? But the thing is, he's giving him also a lot of responsibility with it, and if he abuses that power, God help him on the day of judgment, so
Yeah, and you got to look at it like the pros weigh out the cons, and because in both of us we have so much rights, and like also it's just that we have to look at it like Allah knows best for us. The fifth question, and this is the last one, would be the mahar is considered the matakhar. So people think that the matakhar is only when you get divorced, but the mahar is considered the matakhar. Can you elaborate on that?
Yes. How do I explain this best?
It's just delayed, as in matakhar meaning delayed,
Yes,
because they
the
can't pay it up front.
The mutaakhir is basically a part of the mahar that you can. So, for example, if someone says, "You can marry my daughter," she wants like 12,000 muqaddam, which is like what he has to give before marriage, and then muakhar is like, let's say 20K. Okay, what he owes her is 32K, not just 12, not just 20. He owes her 32. However, he can give part of it at the beginning, and then when during their marriage, he can give her the other part, which could happen at any time, like maybe at the beginning, like right after the wedding, or a while after that. But the thing is, if he were to pass away, or if they have a divorce, he has to give it to her.
Because it's considered a debt on him, isn't it?
Yes, that's a debt, because it's part of her mahar. Like, he's supposed to give it to her. So, or if she asks for it. So, if during their marriage she's like, okay, I want the rest of my mahar, he's supposed to give it to her. He has to, because it is a debt.
Yeah. And it's just to make it easy for the man, so that he can have like maybe installment payments or whatever. But at the end of the day, it has to be given during the marriage, because it's a debt. Just like if he were to put himself in debt, then you're going to get punished for a debt.
100%. Yeah. So he has to give it. Like, and if he passes away, his kids or his brothers, whoever is like getting inheritance from him, is supposed to pay it to her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So
good.
so it's part of the mahar. It doesn't go away.
All right, thank you. That gives us the answers to the question. You can continue. Sorry.
Awesome. I'm glad that's it. I'm glad that's
I
it.
can't hit you with too many questions.
No, it's fine. It's okay. And Allah Ta'ala
Allah
a'la
knows
wa a'lam.
best. Yes,
So
Allah knows
Allah
best.
Subhanahu wa Ta'ala knows best. So definitely go back and check those questions as well. Don't just take my word for it. Like, go back and check as well. See if, like, because in fiqh there are so many like different rulings. Some people believe something, other people like explain it in a different way, and that's part of the mercy in our deen. But yeah. So you might find like a different, uh, maybe fatwa for this.
Yeah, and I feel like also, Shahid, like, some people don't like to hear something they didn't like to hear that. But like you said, Allah knows best. And maybe if you go sit with a sheikh or somebody to explain it to you better so you can understand it, because this is our religion. No matter what, if we like it or we don't like it, might not go down our throat very nicely, but Allah knows best.
I mean, we're all women here. So at some point in my life, I definitely was just like, okay, why? Like, why this? Why that? And I was just like, why do they get this? And why don't we get this? But there's like this ayah that speaks exactly about this. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَلَا وَرَبُّكَ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ حَتَّى يُحَكِّمُوكَ فِيمَا شَجَرَ بَيْنَهُمْ ثم لا يجدوا في أنفسهم حرجا مما قضيت ويسلموا تسليما. And I'm pulling up the meaning of this right now. Let's see, because I know it in Arabic, but let's see. Okay, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, but know by your Lord, they will not truly believe until they make you, O Muhammad, judge concerning that over which they dispute among themselves, and then find within themselves no discomfort from what you have judged, and submit in full willing submission. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, this is, by the way, in Surat An-Nisa, Ayah 65. So this is verse 65, Surah An-Nisa. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us that you can say that you're a believer, but the thing is, you can't become a believer until you allow Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Prophet to judge concerning that which you are disputing amongst. Which now we were disputing, right? We're just like, why do the men get this? Why don't we get that? Whatever. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or the Prophet make a judgment about something, and then we don't find discomfort from what they have judged, and we submit full willing submission. This is why belief and faith is very, very difficult.
SubhanAllah.
It's not easy. Islam, easy. So praying, zakah, hajj, easy. Those are all, you can do them. Faith is like hearing that something you don't like. You don't want to hear that your husband could get married to another woman. That's not something that you want to hear. You don't want to hear that you have to wear the hijab and you have to wear it in a certain way. You don't want to hear that there are so many like rulings where you're just like, oh, that's like, I don't like it, But the thing is, belief is when that you hear that ruling and then you don't feel any discomfort. And you kind of submit completely, which is part of Islam, Islam is taslim. It's like being able to submit completely to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has asked you to do. And there are many rulings that I know as like a human being, sometimes I'm just like, oh gosh, this one's really, that's like a ruling, that's But the thing is, then you have to remind yourself, okay, but where does it come from? It comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I have to submit to it. I have to believe in it, And like, I know even in life, like we have to go through things that like bother us or harm us or hurt us, and we don't understand the reason for it, and it's just, this is part of it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us in a constant struggle, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in a different ayah in Surat Al-Ankabut, He says, أحسب الناس أن يتركوا أن يقولوا آمنا وهم لا يفتنون. Do the people think that they will be left to say, we believe, and they will not be tried? You're going to be tried. You're going to be tried in different rulings that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to give you. You're going to be tried with different situations in your life that you're not going to like. You might apply to a job 1,000,000,000 times and you don't get in, and then you hear that someone applied that one time and they got in. And you might struggle to find the right person. You might struggle to have children. You might struggle because of your health. Regardless of what it is, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells you, you will be tried. If you want to say, I'm a believer, you're going to be tried. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He loves a person, when He loves one of His servants, He tries them. And we do that, by the way. We do that to the people that we love. When you love someone, you kind of test them in a certain way. You're just like, oh, let me see if they actually love me. Let me see if this friend is actually being truthful. Let me see if my husband will actually do this for me, you know? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is what He's doing. And He has the highest example, but that's what He does. He wants to try us. He wants to see, are we going to remain believers, or are we going to continue to doubt? And it is not easy to continue to believe when things are like very difficult, you know, and it's not easy to believe when you're hearing some rulings where you're just like, I don't feel like this is fair to me, you know. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does know better than us. Whether like we understand it or don't understand it, He does know what's best for you. And then inshallah, on the day of judgment, it'll all be worth it. Like everything that we're currently going through, everything that we feel is like too much or we don't understand, inshallah, on the day of judgment, it'll all be worth it. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward all of us for everything that we're trying to do right in this dunya.
So I got another question.
Yes.
So then we should educate our youngsters, our youth that are getting married, and basically can you put anything in the contract?
Yeah, you're allowed to, as long as it's not against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's rulings, you can do it.
Okay.
So anything that's halal, you can put in your contract, whatever it is. You could be like, I want him to, I don't know, get me.
Let me go to school. You know.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Example.
I want him to help me cook. I want him to, I don't know, whatever it is that you want to put in the contract, you're allowed to do it. You can do it. It's just, hopefully the man is actually, you know, he keeps his word. Because if he doesn't keep his word, you are allowed to be like, I don't want to be married to him anymore. But the thing is, most women will not do that. Unfortunately.
I was saying more like, you know how some girls, because they're young and they don't want to do haram, and the boy don't want to do haram, like for her to say, well, I want you to let me finish my schooling. That's got to be allowed.
She can do that 100%.
So then this way, he cannot tell her when he's married to her, you're not allowed to finish your school. That kind of thing.
He can't do that. But the thing is, if he does decide to do that, she can be like, oh, then this marriage is no longer valid.
Yeah, because you broke your agreement. You're not letting me study.
And that's part of the contract.
Yes.
The thing is, many men break their contracts every single day. Like unknowingly. I'm not even kidding. I've heard many of my friends like give their husbands a lot of things like in the contract where the man doesn't really
abide by it. But then they can go to the sheikh. You know, like
they can go to the sheikh, but like they're gonna be like, oh, do I want to? Like, is it worth it? And then they start to like overthink it, and But the thing, so hopefully, ya Allah, may Allah give all our friends and family and daughters and sisters good men that actually are able to hold up their end of the bargain.
To keep their promise, you know? Inshallah. Because keeping your promise is part of Islam.
100%, yes.
Can I ask a question real quick?
Sure.
Yeah.
You said that put it in, Edith, you were mentioning the marriage contract to put, like, for example, let me complete my studies. Isn't that her right without having to put it in a contract? Because that's what I understood.
Her right? Like Islamically?
Islamically. Like if she wanted to study, can he say, no, you can't study? Or
okay.
Is something he has to permit, is what I'm asking, I think.
He can say no, yes. Not because he could be like, oh, it's going to stop you from being a good wife, whatever. Unfortunately,
Or stopping you from raising my kids because I don't want them
yeah,
to be with a nanny, or, you know.
yeah. So he could come up with like this random excuse. Usually, most people that I've known, I've never heard any guy have an issue with it, but he could, you know,
Fair
he
enough.
could say that. He could say that.
Just
Yeah.
like he could tell you not to leave the house, only to visit your parents. He could say that too.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm
Yeah.
saying that, because the man is the leader of the home. He could
That's
say,
why, guys,
I don't want you to
like,
leave the house because I want you to be safe and I'm worried about you. And now how
yeah,
days are, everybody's attacking Mahajaba. He could come up with anything, but it doesn't matter.
yeah,
If he goes to the sheikh's going to say you have to follow your husband, no matter what he
yeah. Which is
says.
why, guys, like, try as much as you can to make a lot of dua that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you a good man,
Yes,
someone who's actually going to
inshallah.
understand you, and take your time getting to know a person, you know. Of course, like, try your best not to break any, you know, boundaries, but like, take your time trying to get to know a person, and definitely talk about all these things.
And
Like, and
then
if you have someone who you know is like going to get married or is going to get to know someone, like, tell them, as beautiful as it is, because I know in Islam, like, we're not allowed to, you know, date and have boyfriends and girlfriends and whatever. So girls, you know, the moment they're in that, you know, fiance stage, they're just like, it's okay, I'm in love with him, it doesn't matter, whatever. And they don't ask the questions that really need to be asked, or when they do, they even if they hear something that they don't want to hear, they kind of overlook it, and later on it becomes an issue.
But then,
So
Shahid, in defense of them, I want to go be like a advocate, like both
no,
sides.
please be, yeah.
So, in defense of them, like they could say, the woman could sit with them and say, you know, I don't want to go. I don't want to leave the. I don't want to leave Chicago. I don't want to go
Yes.
move to Jordan or another country. I don't want you to do that to me. And he's gonna say,
Yeah.
don't worry, I have no plans on doing that. But later in the future, the man's the provider, and if he can't find a job and he figures that it's gonna be better for him to live in Jordan because he found a great opportunity, the wife
Yeah.
has to follow him. She can't say,
She has to
I'm gonna
follow him, but the
divorce
thing
you
is,
because
he has
I don't want
he
to
has to keep
go.
his word.
Even though she could divorce him, but for anything, if that's happens. But the thing is do you really want to break up a marriage because you're gonna? There's a hadith that says when you please your husband, Allah's pleased with you. Now he's the leader, he's the provider, and if he feels like he never said he strongly he didn't want to leave the country because he was trying to please you. At the end of the day, if he feels like he has to provide for his family and he feels like that's good for him and his family, you have to follow your husband.
Yes, and also it's the same on the other end as well. So if a husband puts like in the contract that there are certain things that he wants from the woman, and then later on she decides that she doesn't want to do it, the same thing could happen on his end too, where he's just like, oh, it's not worth like breaking up the marriage, blah blah blah, you know. So it could happen both ways. Both
Yes.
people can't break their promises, and both people could be like, wait, but I don't want to like break this marriage apart. So I
That's
advise
why I
everybody
feel
to
like we
make
should
that
educate our youth.
Yes, so
Both
both
ways.
parties have to be very like honest with each other and understand that things happen where plans change. And maybe the
Yes.
person who told you like, oh, I will never like do this, or we won't ever have to do this or whatever, like move to a different state or country, whatever. It could happen, and you have to like brace yourself for it. Like, are you willing to do that, whether you're the man or the woman? Regardless of who
Yeah.
you are you willing to compromise for this person, or is it like not worth it? And also I think it depends on how the quality of the marriage. If the husband and the wife are like, if they live blissfully, and this is like this one issue, then they'll try to like work through it. Or
Yeah.
if there are other issues going on and then this is added on top of it, then it kind of, crumbles.
Yes, I agree. Because, like, if you're God fearing and the man's taking care of the woman, her needs emotionally, financially, being kind to her, it'll be an easy answer from the woman. She will be standing by her husband. Same thing with the man, with the woman. If she's hanuna and loving and caring, that's, like the man is the one that looks for affection from a woman. So, and that's important to him. So if you are doing that, I'm sure, if you say, I don't want to cook today or whatever, then he'll be more lenient to that. Or, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to.
100%, yeah.
So it goes both ways. You just got to fear Allah. That's why I always say both of them need to fear Allah and have to come in with taqwa. And then you won't have issues. But when you don't do that and you don't have taqwa, that's where issues arise from.
Yeah. And that's why it's very, like, it's scary on both ends. Like, we say that, the woman has to, like, follow her husband, and, she has to make sure that he's pleased with her. Same with the man. Like, same with the man. Like, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, like, and the Prophet ﷺ says, إني أحرج عليكم حق الضعيفين اليتيم والمرأة. The Prophet ﷺ is warning men from two people's haqs, rights, and those are the orphans and women. So, which means, like, uharrij is like, it's like a big warning sign where it's just like, do not hurt these two people. Do not hurt orphans and do not hurt women. And so when a man is just like, yeah, but you need to follow me, blah blah blah, if you're not kind to your woman, you are in trouble too. Like,
yes, subhanAllah, it goes back to Shahid, what we were saying, where when you feel like, but I can't go to Jannah unless I'm obedient to my husband because Allah won't be pleased with me. But then Allah also said, and so did the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he told the Prophet, you have to be kind to your wife because you will be questioned on the day of judgment.
Yeah.
He will ask her, did he clothe you? Did he feed you? Did he care for you? Did he take care of you? Was he kind to you? All of that too. So it balances, like Allah's haq, just.
And can I add to that, if I may? I think what happens now, and I'm talking about modern times, from what I see, because men do have a lot of rights and power, and the woman has to please her husband. Unfortunately, a lot of men are abusing that.
Yes.
And I
100%.
think what happens is women speak up more now than they did the beginning of times, and they come off as like, oh, she wants to lead the family, she wants to be dominant. You know what I mean? Where she just wants her rights. And I think nowadays, Khalto, more women know deen and they know their rights, and men can't get away with as much. So I think men, they take advantage of, I'm the leader, just follow me, and basically, like,
But you're right. That's why
that's where there's so many problems, where women are like, no, I know my rights.
Right, and Allah gives the woman so many rights, mashallah, that some of the men are like, well, what's our rights if they're getting all these rights? But it equals out because Allah is haq and He's fair. He's just, He's fair. So I feel like if they both knew their rights and they both fear Allah, I think they would be okay. It's just that,
100%.
Sometimes some men don't want to give in. Sometimes some women don't want to give in. It goes both on both sides, really, honestly. To tell you the truth. It takes two to make a marriage.
100%.
And one to break one.
Yeah.
I think we need a month on these, like 2-3 ayat.
There's so much there, and it requires a lot of faith. I think
it's iman,
It's a lot of
so
you gotta have that iman to get through it.
And you know what? Honestly, I've had an incident where I had a story where the woman, where things were not going right. The man was being like, controlling, abusive, not abusive, but like, it goes my way, get it, that kind of thing. And the woman, feels a kind of way like, that's not fair. I feel like, I can't do nothing, say nothing, because, I have to follow my husband, whatever. But when she said, because this is a true story, she said, I'm not going to focus on him, what he's doing to me and how he's treating me. I'm going to focus on my iman and go and fix myself and see what I'm doing wrong for this marriage. The minute she fixed herself in her iman, guess what? The man started feeling guilty and he started to being kinder to her. So and she wasn't doing it for him. She was doing it for Allah. So subhanallah, maybe Allah warmed his heart, comforted his heart because she was doing something for Allah. The iman, you're right. It's in the iman.
It really is. Yeah. And Allah and the Prophet ﷺ does say, khairukum khairukum li ahli. The best amongst you are those who are the best to their family, which is their wives, their kids, So if a man is like, I'm a great guy, but his wife despises him, that's very questionable. So
Exactly. I agree
yeah.
with that.
Oh no, you
Yeah,
know,
'cause
like if
who
the
knows him
woman is
better
the
than his
one.
wife? She lives with him.
No, but
Yeah.
I mean, like the woman, if she's saying, "I'm gonna change him," that's when it's not gonna work. You gotta change
Yeah.
yourself for the sake of Allah, and
I
you'll
don't
see,
think
and you'll see
anybody
how
could change
things.
anybody.
No, they won't. But there's some women that think they could. But I'm saying, like, if they think that way, instead of thinking, "I'm gonna change myself for the sake of Allah," because I want
Yeah.
to be a better person, I want to grow in my faith. Allah will soften the man's heart because Allah is the one that will help you through everything.
If
And
she has the patience for it,
yes,
because
yes.
Yes.
like if it like I don't know, it's different for each woman, but if a woman decides that, I'm not dealing with this, and if you're gonna act like a certain way or like a child or whatever, I'm not gonna deal with it. She also has the right to do that.
Yeah, that's why
Like
I
it can
said she
be,
has the right to divorce
yeah,
too.
yeah. So she can be like, yeah, this is not for me. It's not gonna work out. So I don't know. That's why it's called mithaq ghalidh. Like it is a very, very hefty contract in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's
Yes.
eyes, because you gotta take it seriously.
Yeah, and the
Like
guy has to
both,
also change and say, "I'm
exactly,
gonna work on
exactly,
my iman, and I'm not gonna care about her imperfections or her
100%.
stuff. I'm gonna work on myself." You know,
Yeah, yeah.
same
Like
thing.
a man has to compromise, a woman has to compromise. There's like both ends. It can't be just one person carrying the whole relation. It's not gonna work. Like
No,
it's a hefty contract because there's so much injustice that could happen, like
hundred
easily.
percent.
Like you could harm someone, break their whole life just because you wanted to like be stubborn or not act right.
100%.
Like even the Prophet ﷺ, when he was married to Aisha, her room, I think I heard one time, it was, I don't know, it was like 4 by 4, like 4 meters by 4 meters, um which is like nothing. Okay. And he would help her clean it. Like, what is even in it to clean? Why is he doing that? Because he wanted her to feel like she's supported by him. Like, he's there for her. Like, if you need my help, I got you.
And he's the best
Um,
example, mashallah, tabarakallah.
exactly. The Prophet ﷺ, because if men want to talk, like, there are so many examples where the Prophet ﷺ, like, acted like a man. He showed them how it is. When Aisha had the Prophet ﷺ's companions over, they came to dine with the Prophet. I'm not sure what it was, but like they were gonna eat at Aisha's house. And then one of his wives, she sent food. Aisha was making food, and that wife also sent food. And then when Aisha saw it, it was like in the hands of the maid. She threw it on the floor. Okay, and so the food, the everything just like broke. And the Prophet ﷺ, what did he do in front of his friends? These days, men would go crazy. They'd be like, "Oh, she disrespected me in front of my friends, divorce, whatever." What the Prophet did was he cleaned what was on the floor. Okay, not Aisha. He cleaned it. As he told his friends, "Gharat ummukum." She got jealous. Like he was just like, "It's okay. She just got jealous. It's fine. It's not a big deal." And he
Yes.
just like cleaned it up and he took it away. Men nowadays, the ego is insane, where they'd be like, you
No,
know what?
Khalto, that's
This
what I
is it.
mean. That is deen. That example she just gave, Shahad. For me, when I think of
Yeah,
deen
but
and
that goes
Islam,
both
this
ways, Habibti.
is,
That's what I'm
I
saying.
know, but that's what I'm saying, because men like to use the example of back in the day how women were. Yeah, like what Shahid said, if women
Yes.
wanted to go
Well,
back
because
to
our prophet
how,
was mashallah, the best of examples,
but we're
mashallah.
all trying to do like, right? We're following the Prophet. We're all trying
Yeah, but we're
our
not all
best. I
perfect.
mean, we're not.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
this is what qawama means. Like when men say like we are qawamun, which means like we are responsible for women, and
Yes.
this is why we can make like different like rules for them and whatever. This is what is meant. Qawama is qawamat ri'aya, which means like you're supposed to take care of this person, which means if they're acting in a certain way, like Aisha did, radiyallahu anha, you're
Allah be
supposed
pleased
to
with
be
it.
able to contain it, not take it to the next level.
Right.
That's
right.
that's your job as a man. Your job as a woman is to be, the lovey-dovey, the cutie, blah blah blah. But at the same time, if you are just like going through it the man is supposed to be able to kind of contain that situation and understand that, okay, even if she like says something that's not the greatest, or if she does like something that doesn't make sense to me and whatever, he's supposed to be able to contain it. That is his role in Islam. That's basically what he's supposed to be
100%. That's
doing.
what I understand Islam to be.
This is why he has the isma. This is why he's allowed to do the divorce, because he's not supposed to be using it that often.
He's not
The
supposed
thing
to be
is,
using
men
it.
now
Yeah.
use it so much.
They
That's why we have
abuse
so
it.
many
Abuse it,
divorces,
yes.
because
Yes.
But
you're
not,
supposed to be like,
but to be
even
the
if she's
advocate also,
acting-
because I feel like we should also go on the other perspective too, is like men put up with a lot of women. There's a lot of kind men too, and they put up with
Yeah,
women
100%,
where they don't want to do
100%.
nothing but
Yeah.
dictate too, and they think that they're the ones that are the superiors, or they're the ones that are
Yeah.
gonna mold and change, or it's my house, I get to tell my kids what to say, what to do, not you. I raise them all day, so that's why the men also is like, well, then I don't need
Yeah.
I
this.
mean, with those women, I would think from the example Shahid just gave, like she said, handle it with grace and
Yeah.
compassion and try to understand where she's coming from. And if she stays, maybe he has the right to be like, okay, this is not working.
Yeah,
for me.
because you
know what I
could
mean?
only
Deal with
do
you
it
with
so
grace and
much
kindness.
for the other
Yeah.
side too. You know what I
Well,
mean?
that's
Like,
why sometimes
like
it
say
doesn't
you
work
come home
afterwards.
tired from work and you've been working all day and you had to deal with so many things, and all of a sudden now you got to come home and deal with your wife in boza, screaming, telling you things, and you have to contain that. That's another thing. That's what I'm saying.
He does, because the Prophet ﷺ was dealing with a whole
Sallallahu.
nation. He was not dealing with just work. He was
Right.
dealing with a nation. He was dealing with da'wah. He was dealing with
But your home,
companions.
yeah, right. But your home's supposed to also be peace. You know what I mean?
No,
Come home
that's
to
what I'm
peace.
saying. It's okay for her to be like that. His job is to contain it. That's the man's job. Like,
And
that's
Khalto, he was a prophet. Imagine
No,
nowadays
mashallah,
if
mashallah.
men
We
had
got,
that power,
yeah.
how they would respond to an incident like what you just told.
Yeah, but
Like,
that's
imagine.
like once in a, like that incident's not every
Right.
day. The women of the
Right.
time, those time, were very obedient to their husband. Also,
I mean, that didn't sound very obedient, but that's just her feelings, being a woman.
no,
you know,
that's like
dealing-
because she got jealous. I'm saying obedient meaning like when he says something, they don't do it. There was also a
course.
story of when the guy
There's a
said,
story where the Prophet ﷺ had an argument with Aisha. This is just like because we only have 2 minutes.
Yeah.
But, he had an argument with Aisha, and he was just like, who would you like to, like, it got to a point where it's not gonna work. They can't communicate. So he's like, who would you like me to like bring so he could like be a judge? And he offered her like 2 different people, and she's the one who was just like, no, I don't want that person. I don't want that person. He's like, what about your dad? And she's like, yes, okay. So he brings her dad, and then the Prophet ﷺ wants to start saying the story, and she tells him, uqsud. Uqsud means tell the truth. Like, basically, don't lie. She told the Prophet, don't lie, okay? And
Wow.
by the way, she had been
Wow.
fighting with him previously. And now in front of her dad, she says that. So her dad slaps her in the face. And she bleeds. Okay? And the Prophet ﷺ, what does he do? He looks at Abu Bakr and he's like, this is not why we brought you here. And he like started like wiping off whatever like blood she had on her face. And he basically like told Abu Bakr, just leave. We'll be like fine on our own. And he told her like, see, like even from your dad, like I will protect you, so that's what we mean by containment. Even like when she just told the Prophet uqsud, like you can't say that to a prophet, like tell the truth, but that's what she did. So it's not about obedience or not obedience, it's about everybody knowing what their role is.
Their role is,
and
yes.
following it.
And
Everybody
know
has
their
to do
role,
their
yes.
part, or
Yeah,
else it's not
yeah.
going to work. Everybody's
Exactly.
got to do their part.
100%, yes.
But we're going to end it there, Shad. I know we have to continue this, but we have to end it
Inshallah.
there.
I think we should do just the month, till Ramadan.
We don't have
Just
not even a
continue
minute.
on
We have
this.
under a
Women
minute.
would love it.
Salsa, we have under a minute.
Sounds good.
Can you do the closing? Okay, we just got disconnected, but I will do the closing. So the closing would be, we thank everybody, first of all, for being on. And with that said, that wraps up today's episode. We hope that you found it beneficial and enjoying. Hold on a second. I'm sorry. We hope you found it beneficial and enjoying. Your feedback is always welcome. Whether you have questions or comments and suggestions, feel free to share the live. and email us at any time at Al-Muminat Podcast.com. And don't forget to continue sharing our podcast with everyone. Our aim is to guide, enlighten. Enlighten. Enlighten our ummah. Special thanks to our sister Shahed for hosting today. May Allah reward you. Thank you for listening. Until next time, Assalamu alaikum